Welcome to the Poetry Box Live. I'm Shawn Aveningo Sanders, and we're thrilled that you could join us today to enjoy a bit of poetry. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my husband Robert and I run a small independent press here in Portland, Oregon, known as the Poetry Box. In addition to our ongoing work publishing poetry books and collaborating with writers all over the country, we also hold an annual poetry chapbook contest, which is currently underway, but I'll share more details about that at the end of the show. Joining us today, we have three fantastic poets with chapbooks that were just released yesterday, so you'll be the first to hear many of these poems. Our three featured poets for today's show are Emily Sue Sloane, joining us from New York, Sue Fagalde Lick, who will be reading to us from here in Oregon, and James K. Zimmerman, who is also joining us from New York. So let's get started with our first featured poet. Emily Sue Sloane is the author of Disconnects and Other Broken Threads, which pulls on many of the fraying threads that divide us and gently weaves them together to inspire connection through hope and at times humor. Emily Sue is an award-winning poet who has won first-place awards from Calling All Writers, the Long Island Fair, Nassau County Poet Laureate Society, Performance Poets Association, and Princess Ron-kon-koma productions. Her poems have been published in numerous journals and anthologies, including Amethyst Review, the Avocet, Bards Against Hunger, Boston Literary Magazine, Mobius Magazine, the Poeming Pigeon, and many, many more. Emily holds a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from Vassar College and lives in Huntington Station, New York, with her singer-songwriter wife. In addition to writing, she enjoys reading, yoga, and exploring her native Long Island's natural beauty. Please welcome Emily Sue Sloane.
Thank you so much, Shawn and Robert. Sue and James, I'm looking forward to hearing your reading. Hello, friends, old and new. Thanks for being here. Well, as Shawn said, we're living in troubled times, and many of the poems in this book are my reflections on big, divisive issues. Some also contemplate the threads we weave and the toll that time takes. Sometimes you just gotta laugh. So hang in there with me. Hardwood wisdom. I am the braided bark of the walnut tree, brow furrowed against the cold, contours recast in slivers of light left by the sun in its rush to finish the day's work. I stand ready to yield my stories as the elders offered before life taught me to listen. I am rooted in memory's path, nicks and scars my diary of days. In brittle aging, I still bend with the forces that someday will find their opening to take me down. I hope not soon. Thanks. The work to be done. So many things to save. The planet, the republic, plant life, animal life, all lives threatened by a virus. The sun, the moon, the stars bear witness to dreams left simmering on the stove, too long ago to be remembered, but not quite forgotten in the rushing river of distraction, deflection, and insurrection. Charred remains of promises tossed out the back door, where smoke dissipates along with the intention to map an escape route. Calamity's spiral has stretched across millennia, while ever more ingenious tools render the earth malleable, mutable, enabling wars to be waged by the light of a computer screen, removed from the screams and the stench of death. Jealousy, cruelty, greed, and insatiable hunger for power persist like roaches and rats, their skeletons preserved in ancient fossils, ancient stories. No matter how fast life spins or how complex the next invention, no buttons, knobs, dials, open hearts wide enough to walk us over glass in the shredded shoes of a sister or brother whose mother we've never met. Thanks. This next poem mentions sugar on snow, which is a Vermont treat. It's hot maple syrup drizzled over snow or shaved ice, and usually served with pickles, and it's very good. A state of mind. A writer's bio states he lives in Adamant in Vermont. Adamant, a state of mind. Can there be peace there? Perhaps Adamant is a crossroads where folks swap stories and opinions over a pint of ale or an order of sugar on snow. There could be peace if you set out hefty portions of truth, respect, and love. Don't forget the love. But what if you believe that COVID vaccines are a hoax and horse medicine will save you, or the election was stolen, or your faith is the one path to salvation, and I don't believe any of that? No, I don't want to live in Adamant. I'm sure I've passed through it one time or another and might visit again, but only if the writer's at home. I have a few questions. Who you are. To live is to become who you are if you're lucky and you're brave. Much easier to become who they want you to be. Wear the uniform, say the prayers, marry, have kids. So much work to peer inward, trace the origin of beliefs and behaviors, carryovers from youth. Do unto others. Don't point at people or ask too many questions. Don't talk about private family matters, and never pair checks and stripes. But what if you like to wear unmatched socks? Have doubts about God and miracles? Know in your heart that opposites don't always attract, or that your body doesn't match who you really are. Thank you. Chaos. Soft swirling lines cross your brow. Wild, disordered regrets dance at the edge. The fiddler calls the tune. Players know when to enter, when to rest inside the grace notes. Timing is everything, except when it's nothing. A minute feels so long waiting for a train, so short when you're late, chasing parallel tracks that never meet except in stories where you find hope sitting beside you, taking you somewhere you've never been. You know better but can't lead the way out of the tangle. The trees remain standing after a night's angst and anger tested their power to sway until the wind blew itself out to the point of laughter. So much laughter can make you cry. Where did all those souls go? They were just here with no more idea of what's to come than I have. So what if I didn't watch the news? Turning inward won't change the trajectory. Bits and pieces are breaking loose from the hive, landing softly on the ground. Speaking of chaos, slipping away. Oh, say, can't you see in the dawn's early shadows the barriers on the road to consensus? A pledge of loyalty, one nation bending toward a blinding flash of gold under truth's dying embers. We passed indivisible a long time back, if such a place ever existed. Privilege seizes liberty, holds justice hostage. Face masks trampled, guns raised in the air. The colors may not run, but they do fade under cameras' red glare. Bear spray and pipe bomb smoke wafting over shattered glass and charred declarations. The cracked bell no longer rings. Trashing the moon. When the moon shines full, you can all but see the dusty footprints left in sand-crusted craters by the early explorers who bounced across its surface in an anti-gravity dance of wonder. holding fast to God and physics. The story of life on the moon will be revealed in the debris travelers shed to lighten their load for propulsion home or onward to more distant destinations. The vacation rental note reads, "Welcome. Enjoy your stay. Please treat this place as you would your home." And so they do. Trash the moon and Mars and all the places rockets will take them next. This next one I wrote at the beginning of Putin's war on Ukraine. It's called Fire and Ice. To invade a country takes fire and ice in the blood and the heart. Greed and anger, the fuel that never burns itself out, nor melts the cruelty that disdain inflicts in the name of power. Hollow-eyed hunger. The shopping list on the fridge gets longer as portions shrink and hollow-eyed hunger deepens. If tears and worry could be cashed in like chips at a casino, there'd be no waiting in line at the food bank. No asking over and over how all those hours at a job or two don't add up. Thank you. Grief's Shadow. I didn't know this was the book I needed to read until I began and then couldn't stop crying. How had I forgotten so quickly the separation, isolation, desolation, the quiet that blanketed streets broken only by sirens unrelenting, the fear of touching what others had touched, of inhaling droplets of danger hanging in the air, of being beholden to those who were willing to work and shop and tend to the sick and dying. This book, written inside grief's shadow, tells how far we've traveled and how much we've already forgotten. The book was Lucy by the Sea by Elizabeth Strout. The Rooster Crows. It was Dylan who wrote, "When your rooster crows at the break of dawn," but he had it wrong. In my suburban neighborhood, the crowing starts around 10 in the morning and picks up again at random afternoon hours. The raspy call makes me laugh. I wonder, was he out strutting till all hours of the night? Or maybe he doesn't care to compete with pre-dawn songbird sonatas. I'm guessing he's sulking because the hens have chased him off, clucking, "No freedom, no chicks." A Daughter's Question. Night sky lights up stars beyond counting, still not bright enough to expose the truth about her life. She never said, and I never thought to ask until it was too late, what made her so angry. Never enough. Time is not my God, though I don't doubt its eternal presence. It commands my notice in dust on tabletops, pipes leaking through pinholes, empty pill bottles, saggy skin and shaggy coif. Wide open, it invites prayers and promises. Faithless, time wounds, then masquerades as healer. Time confiscates color, distorts sound, holds hope hostage to a future on the run. It scatters the past like seed for starlings to squabble over in winter. Time in all its abundance, never enough. Thanks. Well, I don't want to leave you all feeling low, so I'm going to close with this one. Ode to a Teapot. Without a teapot, the tea won't steep. And without tea, there'd be no sleep. Without sleep, there'd be no rest. And without rest, there'd be no jest. Without jest, there'd be no laughter, and without laughter, no hereafter. Without hereafter, no before, and without before, no metaphor. Without metaphor, there'd be no clarity, and without clarity, there'd be no charity. Without charity, there'd be no dawn. So don't forget to keep the kettle on. Thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you, Emily, Sue. And, it's not always to create a collection covering such a broad swath of topics and especially current events. But I have to say, you have certainly succeeded with this earnest and thought-provoking read for our times. And damn, I just love the rooster poem. That's my favorite one in the whole collection. It's and that ending just like, oh, dang, so good, so good. Um, anyway, thank you for sharing your poems with us today. It was truly a delight to hear you. So our next featured poet is Sue Fagalde Lick, who just happens to be having a birthday today. And of course, we did try to do a little singing to her earlier while everybody was getting into the room. But if you missed that fun and all that great singing, I do encourage you to wish her a happy birthday in the chat room, and I'll make sure she gets a copy of the chat at the end of the show. So send her some love. Sue is the author of many books, including her newest chapbook, Blue Chip Stamp Guitar, which is a love story about a girl and her guitar that gives us backstage look into her life, her love of music, her jobs, her marriage, and her grief. Sue's poems have appeared in Cirque, Rattle, The MacGuffin, Sage Soup, Cloud Bank, New Letters, the American Journal of Poetry, and many other literary journals. In addition to performing both poetry and music as much as possible, Sue is a Catholic music minister, playing piano and guitar for masses, funerals, potlucks, and other festivities. She travels with a notebook and sheet music in one hand and a guitar in the other. And through life as a performer, she has learned that strangers ask questions when you walk in with a guitar, and everything is better with music. It's my delight to welcome Sue Fagalde Lick.
Yes. Thank you all for being here. I love this book because it brings together the two sides of my life, the music side and the writing side, which are often oddly separate. So I really, really like this. And Shawn and Roberts did such a beautiful job. It is so pretty. So I am very appreciative. And I thank all of you who came to help me celebrate my birthday today. Okay. For those who are too young, blue chip stamps were something that people got when they went shopping. You went to the grocery store and you got a stamp for a certain amount of money, and you collect them. They put them in books, and then they would go and buy things with these blue chip stamps. There were also S&H green stamps, but we have blue chip stamps. And that's how I got my first guitar. The first poem I'm going to read to you is La Valenciana. My mother was a saint. Not only did she put up with Dad and restrain herself from killing us kids, but one blessed Christmas she used her blue chip stamps to buy me a guitar because I wanted one so bad I played rubber bands over rusty nails hammered into a piece of wood. Or maybe she figured I'd stop banging the piano and give her a little peace so she could hear the radio, Arthur Godfrey and Doris Day, while she ironed Dad's shirts, cut up the roast beef to stew, or watched As the World Turns before bringing the laundry in. She bought a La Valenciana, cheap, in a gray cardboard case with a book of easy chords and 100 million songs that I strummed and sang, perched on my chenille bed until she surely wanted to scream, "Shut the F up!" But she didn't. She just shut the kitchen door. When I tuned the strings, they snapped. Oops. Mom! Off to the music store again, where some long-haired guy attached a new coiled string for $1. The concert resumed. My darling Clementine, she loves you, yeah, yeah. The answer's blowing in the wind. Hour after hour, guitar creasing my thighs, strings denting my fingertips, I bounced my voice off sheetrock walls, out white lace curtains, into the waiting world, where people would think, that girl is a star. Thank you. Getting the hang of this 2 screens at once thing here. First job. I knew 2 songs on a classical guitar. Giuliani's number 15 and a sad piece by this dude named Carulli. Plus the usual beginner chords, C, F, G7, D, A, E. Not flat or sharp chords, God forbid. I learned them in my bedroom from books, no lessons, no YouTube, not invented yet. Just strings and voice echoing off pink walls and hardwood floor till my mother hollered, "Hush!" Wanting a job, a car, I walked down Stevens Creek Boulevard to the Sherman Clay Music Store. "Do you need a guitar teacher?" They already had one, of course, a chubby Mexican man who said, "Play me something." So I did. Giuliani wowed him. He was a mariachi man. He hired me right away. Okay, it might have been my smile, or my long, shiny hair, or the shortness of my miniskirt. I didn't know enough to teach. The lessons always petered out. Soon I had no students left, so I cashiered at the shopping mall, earned my bachelor's degree, got a husband and a new guitar. Years later, I saw the teacher playing with his mariachis at the fair. He'd forgotten who I was. I took his picture and moved on. I still play the same 2 songs, the only ones I know by heart. Well, life moved on and I met a guy and, the guitar was still coming with me. This is called After Disneyland. The guitar sat on the floor by the wall of a base housing apartment in Victorville, where we were visiting my boyfriend's friends, whom I'd met once at a backyard party, and now we were going to Disneyland. 3 months we hadn't done it yet. A Vietnam vet and I, a straight-A virgin, who insisted we would not do anything. But he French kissed me on the jungle ride, broke my breast on the Matterhorn. "No," I said. He replied, "Why not? Come on." While we ate corn dogs for supper and oohed at the flashing fireworks, I pushed his roving hands away as they played with the buttons on my blouse. Back at the house, we started drinking wine, squirting it out of a leather Boda bag. I planned to play some songs for them, but stage fright made me hesitate while the 6-string waited in its case. Time passed in a red wine blur. I hadn't mastered drinking yet. The friends giggled behind the bedroom door. He turned out the lights and invited me into his flannel-lined sleeping pouch. Zipped together, skin to skin, he promised me it wouldn't hurt. He said that I would be his wife. Half passed out, I let him in, as the guitar sat silent by the wall. Oh, well, we did get married 2 years later. It didn't last very long. Little problems with sobriety and monogamy. So I wound up single again, and this is called Pacifica, 1981. Now you can do the math. You know how old I am today. I'm 28, going on 17, sitting cross-legged on the floor of my apartment. The furniture's still at my parents' house. Against the wall, a sleeping bag. Marriage failed. I can't wait to claim my space, to lock the door, plug in my brand new Princess phone. Green shag carpet reeks of cats as I lean against the counter, long hair and thick brown specs, skinny jeans, t-shirt tucked. On the counter, a box of Quaker oats, an avocado green tea kettle, a vodka box of Campbell's soups, log cabin syrup, and pancake mix. My life still fits in a pickup truck. Clothes, sewing machine, books, typewriter in a baby blue case, paper with that wood pulp smell. Beside me, a blue chip stamped guitar, La Valenciana, fingertip dents on the first 3 frets. Nearby, a battery tape deck, fresh cassettes. I stare out the window at the fog, shredding to reveal hints of blue. Scrabble in my purse for a pen, write the date on a clean white page. Well, then I met other guys. And there goes this one. Ex-boyfriend. I was his trained seal, his puppy doing tricks. I was his little whore, and he was my pimp. After hauling me into bed behind the accordion divider, he'd call me out, sore and half-dressed, to sing and play my guitar. do a little song for his friends while he sipped his drink and beamed with pride at the pussy he had caught, and trained to sit, stand, lie down when he called, and to sing, sing, sing. Oh, isn't she cute, he said. Now, darling, fill my glass. Until the day I closed my case and took my show on the road. Skipping that. Oh, yes. So, I tried. You know, we all want to be stars when we start out, and I sure did. And I thought this was my chance. This poem is called Glitter. Having fled to the beach after my true love grew hair and claws, I saw the ad called from a phone booth. In a Palo Alto living room, I played and sang for this old cowboy guitar guy with a dream. We'll make you a star, he said. Featured vocalist, he said. Records, TV, radio, he said. Riding the bus, eating cup of soup, new hair, stage makeup, contact lenses, and a silver jacket with my name. Not featured, not famous, not playing, just singing backup, second row, but bright lights, glitter in my curly hair. Even my parents liked the show, from Islands in the Stream to Rose of San Antone. Don't worry about your pay, he said. We're going to hit it big, he said. Kids, this is our last show, he said. Some of us kept our cowboy boots. The smart ones kept their jobs. I kept the silver jacket with my name. Still have it. Showbiz, thank you. Scrolling, 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 scrolling. Keep them doggies scrolling. Okay. My biggest fan. I did finally marry a good guy. Sun glints off matching gold bands as we load the truck for another gig. Bookstore, coffee house, festival. It's the same routine for every show. I'm cranky, bustling around in my slip, directing. We need amp, speakers, mics, mic stand, music stand, guitar stand, chords. No, I'm taking both guitars. Because glittered, painted, perfumed. I sit shallow breathing as he drives the truck, humming with Ray Charles on the stereo. Hush, I want to scream, I'm scared. Setting up as part of the show. Audience twittering and making jokes as he heaves my gear into place, and I say, no, honey, over here. At last, I stand at the mic alone, strum an intro, pour my voice into the air. Ah, there it is, not gone, the song I learned in my bedroom long ago. Espresso machines grind, cars roar by, people chat 2 feet away, but he sits drinking all my music in, and I hope this gig will never end. I think we're winding down. Scrolling, scrolling. Sing it with me. Keep these poems scrolling. Okay. My goodness. Where is it? Oh, come on. Hi, harmonizing. Downsizing. Sorting through old tapes, I find originals, 1983 to 84. Slip it into my late husband's boombox. A hum, a finger-picked guitar, a voice, high-pitched and clear, singing spring songs. Good God, so chirpy and cheerful. But there are other tunes begging for love. I've spent a lifetime waiting, and then nobody makes me smile like you. The girl sings, I didn't want to be in love. Ah, youth. I fell for a rat, got dumped, cried over my guitar, wrote another song. I strummed a chord, tasted a phrase in my mouth, wrote it down and sang it again and again until the next bit of chorus or verse was revealed. Song finished, I recorded it on a cheap tape with a tiny plastic microphone plugged into a recorder big as a baking dish. Washing and drying my chipped plates, I harmonized with my younger self, loving how the voices blend despite the dust. As the guitar fingers stumble, I frown. Come on, keep going. You can find the note. All those riffs are easy now. What's hard is writing a new song to sing. I dry my hands, pick up my guitar, strum an A minor chord, and sigh. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. I think that is the end.
Oh, Sue, that was a lot of fun. And it's,
Thank
it's always a delight to read your poetry because of your rich, detailed images. And you're such a master of storytelling. You really are. And I wasn't familiar with the blue chip stamps, but I do remember those green stamps and licking and pasting them into those booklets with my mom. And I think,
Mhm.
you're so lucky to have your mom use those stamps for a guitar and bring music into your life. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing these stories with us. It was a real treat to hear them come to life.
Thank you so much.
Our final poet reading today is James K. Zimmerman, author of The Further Adventures of Zen Patriarch Dojin, which was a finalist in the Poetry Box Chapbook Prize last year. James K. Zimmerman is an award-winning neurodivergent writer and a frequent Pushcart Prize nominee. His poetry appears in the Atlanta Review, Carolina Quarterly, Folio, Lumina, Nimrod, and Rattle, among many other publications. He is also featured on websites such as the Poetry Foundation, America Life and Poetry, and Vallum. He is the author of Little Miracles and also Family Cookout, which won the Jesse Bryce Niles Prize from Comstock Review. Jim resides at the crepuscular edge between the universe and the one next door, often with one foot in each, and in his spare time cultivates roses, orchids, and paradoxical questions. Please welcome James Zimmerman.
Thanks so much, Shawn. And Robert, I don't see you here, but I just wanted to say that you have done a marvelous job of bringing this project to fruition. Design support with marketing, PR, just coaching it through is great. This book is a book of persona poems, which are poems that are from the first person voice of someone, but not the poet. And in this case, they're in the voice of Dogenji, who was a Zen patriarch from the 13th century. Went to China, came back to Japan, founded the Soto School of Zen. The first poem I'll read, if you have the book, I don't know, maybe some of you do, it's on page 21 if you want to follow along silently as I read. First one is Dogen sits at the water's edge. Waves leave behind the ocean that birthed them, become artisans not of white froth, but voices of pebble and boulder, hiss and crash, hiss and crash. Show me the boundary, the limits. How can there be an edge to this moment that finds its way to sands like cormorants to chum, like chum to kelp and lichen, that finds its way to pelagic pulse like a song sung by drums, the rhythm of hands, gullwing, flutter of beach-flung blossoms, that finds its way to soft mist, salt air, visions interweaving rock, pebble, sand, and spume until they disappear in the ebbing embers of sunset. So Dogen's main thing that he brought to the practice of Zen was that the core emphasis, and this is generally a Buddhist concept, was that everything is ephemeral, everything is changing all the time. The only thing that exists is the present moment. But he also focused very much on sitting meditation as the whole deal. The epigraph for the book is on page 7, and it's from Dogen himself. And it goes like this. Each moment is all being. Each moment is the entire world. Reflect now whether any being or any world is left out of the present moment. So this poem, the next one, follows already that concept that there is nothing but the present moment. And this is on page 13. It's called Song in Situ. If I sit here now, am I still the same as when I sat here now before. I knew years ago the gossip of sparrows, the grasshopper whir of thought, and I saw that now I see was numinous as afternoon sun in fog, gone as soon as frog song in the still sound of darkness. As I sit here now, I see rising lines of breath and falling, eyes turned inward. So I ask, if I see a winter breath of silence in the air, will it taste the same as when I sat here now before? So I sing, where does this nothing begin as I sit here now, or now, or now? And one of clearly the focus of most Buddhist meditation is the breath. And one of the reasons is because the breath is there all the time, unless you're dead, obviously. I mean, it's maybe Danish isn't. And it's always moving. It's always flowing. There's an ebb and flow, And there's also a moment at the in-breath where it stops. And then there's a moment at the out-breath where it stops. So he had the concept, he used the term life-death as one unitary phenomenon. And he focused that on breath. This is on page 42, if you're following, hold on. It's called Dogen Takes a Breath. Each breath seeks the mouths of alveoli, nesting birds, beaks agape to capture need, feed the body. Each breath takes in wings of joy or talons of sorrow. Each breath expels vapors of memory, toxic but lifeblood to waiting oaks and roses. Each breath holds a stillness, suspension of turning, revolving, a fulcrum between fullness and emptiness, holding on and letting go. If I were a blood cell, each breath would be the lifespan of a star, light bursting forth, carrying seeds of its own silence, reversal, implosion. Each breath a cycle, birth, life, death, birth, life, death, birth, the hope in an unhedged egg. And so I figured that if Dogen showed up these days in the 21st century, one of the fundamental concepts of Buddhism is also that there's no such thing as a self. And a lot of people in our way of thinking struggle with that concept a lot. The way I figure it is essentially that there's nothing that exists that's stable throughout time, that everything is changing all the time. And we see that in our bodies, obviously. We're born, we grow up, we kind of hang around for a while, and we get old, we die. So it's obvious that there's nothing that stays the same in that, but it's even moment to moment. So that I just said moment to moment, but we've all already changed since then. So Dogen went into a car dealership because he was fascinated by the idea of a self-driving car. And so he decided to find out about that. And this is page 23. This was originally published in 14 Hills, the journal 14 Hills. It's called Dogen Takes a Ride in a Self-Driving Car. Dogen asks the salesman, where was the self when the car was a thought? When the thought was a sketch? When the sketch was design? Where was the self on the assembly line in Alabama? On a truck from Mexico? A ship from China? Is the self in the carbon and iron of steel? In the gleam of chrome? The slick skin of PVC? Where is the self in the cowhide of custom bucket seats? Where do the seats go when the car is incinerated? Is the windshield still sand? Was the sand always glass? Where is the self that thinks it can drive itself? In the GPS, Bluetooth, ABS, cruise control? Show me the self before the doors were installed. Show me the self after the car is totaled, after the crusher comes. Show me the self after the parts return to earth and sky. And very soon after that, the car dealer retired and left and did something else entirely. I don't know what it was, but so another concept in Buddhism is called dependent origination, which essentially means that everything is a cause that has an effect, and the effect is the next cause of the next effect of the next cause of the next effect. And that's essentially the concept, that the kernel of the concept of karma, which is that everything that happens leads to the next thing, and what you do leads to the next thing. But also that the only thing that exists is the relationship, that nothing exists on its own without cause and effect and without being in relation to something else. This is on page 9, and it's called Dogen Strikes the Meditation Bell. What is a bell without a stick without an oak without sun, a sun without fire? Ripples through air. Should I count cycles per second? Measure wavelength? A frog leaps, lands in pond water. Concentric ripples touch the shore. Should I count cycles per second? Measure molecules sinking in mud? A bell awakens when struck by hand, by stick, by breeze. Where is the sound when the bell is still? Where is the stillness when the bell rings? Concentric ripples touch tympanum, wriggle through ossicles, nerve, thought, memory. A melody arises, brings visions of tea and laughter, dancing firelight, or chants for a child newly dead. Where is a bell without brass, brass without copper, an ear without ripples, memory without song? When frog pond ripples, concentric, reach the shore, wavelengths burrow through mud, do they stop singing? Do they stop dancing? Does the chanting end? When sound ripples unconstrained, concentric circles uncaught by an ear cycle out to stars, reach out to galaxies. How do they resonate in emptiness? And the last poem I'll read, first of all, I want to again thank Shawn and Robert, but also, whoops, dropped my glass. Also, thank all of you for coming, those of you who I know and those of you who I don't. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to sort of try to sing happy birthday, although never works on Zoom, singing. So another concept is that you can't experience the truth of reality until you can see what blocks you from directly experiencing it. And the way I think of it is that I live with a hand in front of my face, and I can see through between the fingers, but I don't know that the hand is there. So this is called, and this is page 46, Dogen elucidates the myth of creation. Each of us has a hand in front of the face, palm to nose, fingers splayed before eyes. We cannot see the hand that stops our breath at times, blocks thick lines of vision, creates opacity. We only know what we see between fingers not visible to us, taste what seeps in around edges, hear only the flapping of thumbs. We greet the world in light that sidles between knuckles and hangnails, lose track of the whorls, the heart line, the lifeline, taking in only what we know already to be true. Thank you very much.
Jim, these poems make me dizzy, but in the best possible way. They just fill me with this sense of wonder, of curiosity, and yet a beautiful sense of calm. So I really think this collection is one of those books that you really need to read slowly. You really need to let the words resonate within your mind, like that meditation bell in your opening poem. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing these concepts and sharing these gorgeous poems with all of us today. It was really quite a treat. Let's have a giant round of applause for all of our readers today. I'd like to thank our three talented poets, Emily, Sue, James, and Sue. Thank you to our audience for supporting our authors and joining us for another edition of the Poetry Box Live. We'll be back next month on Saturday, April 13th with three more poets, Janet Stewart, Carol Paris Krauss, and Stephanie Marcellus, who each have chapbooks that are available to pre-order through Friday. So make sure you check them out on our website. I'd like to remind all the poets out there that our chapbook contest is open for submissions for one more week until March 15th. We will again be awarding publication to three poets, and our guest judge this year is the award-winning poet Donna Hilbert. You can find all the details on our website at thepoetrybox.com. And if you'd like to keep up to date on upcoming shows, new releases, and other publishing opportunities, you could subscribe to our monthly newsletter by going to our website, where you'll find a sign-up form at the bottom of each page. Thanks again for joining us today. We'll see you next month on the Poetry Box Live. Have a great rest of your weekend.